Hi, welcome back to Alex's Projects. I'm Alex. This is my latest project. It's a 71 Ford Bronco basket case. What we're going to do, we've installed these camper jacks so far. The reason is to get the body up off the frame so that I can work on some of the frame rust. That is repair the body mount holes on the frame. They're on these ears that stick out well from the frame, and there are these rubber mounts that attach the body to the frame or isolate the vibration, and those mounts have rusted the holes out around the frame mounting points. So what we're going to do first is you take advantage of these jacks we installed. I'm going to push the whole body back and expose the front mounts and start grinding on them to see. First I need to discover where I'm going to place the holes back in. I'm going to patch some steel back into the frame. We have to figure out where the holes are supposed to be, since the rust has destroyed the original hole positions. And then hopefully we can patch that all back together and then start over on the back mounts or just some of the center mounts to see how they look. Okay, let's get to work about pushing this body back. I'm hung up on the water pump, so I'm going to go ahead and drop it another ½ inch and then push it further back. Alright, that should give us just enough clearance to get another 3 inches. There we go. Alright. This is how far we've moved it. We're able to get it right up under the water pump. There's a lot of space back here to work now for whatever I need it for. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I guess, is get my angle grinder down here with a brush, a wire brush, and start getting the rust off of that little ear there, and then this little guy here too. Alright, first thing, I'm going to go ahead and remove this steering box, because it's in the way of the front mounts. So away they go. Oy. Alright, of course, that would not be that easy. I got to get that out. Oy. Well, I got a new toy. This is the Harbor Freight version, 1/2-inch impact. Let's see if it works. Yeah, seems to work. Oh. Need something to hold this. Need 11/16 open end. 3/4, not 7/16. Come on. All right. Oh, all right. What's going on? Is there a bottom? Nope. I guess I'm going to need to sledge it. Oh. Heck. Well, maybe it's the other end. There we go. One steering box. So I've got an idea here. I'm going to cut this out all the way, and I'm going to make a patch and weld it in. And I'm going to use one of my seal drivers as a kind of a template to draw around to try to work. Hopefully I can freehand this thing, which I'm probably real bad at. So to see how it works though, huh? Wonder if I can hold it steady. We'll find out. I'm going to cut this with a plasma cutter and not like an angle grinder because it's really hard to control like an angle grinder around this real tight curve. So I'm going to try to use the plasma cutter to just get it around the outside edge, and then I can use like an angle grinder to make a straight patch this way. Making a straight patch or doing a semicircle in a patch makes it much simpler to make the patch, because then I just have to worry about cutting half on my saw, my little bandsaw of the circle, which is kind of hard to do with the blade that's like I think it's 3/8 inch wide. And then the straight cuts are much easier on that saw. So I'm kind of trying to make it easy on myself while being lazy at the same time. So here we go. Well, I'm going to set down the heat on this. So I was cutting 3/16 last, and this will be way thinner. Not bad. I mean, it's not a circle exactly, but it's not terrible. Alright. I should have drawn the rest of the shape when I had the chance. Oh, okay. All right. So here's what came up with. I don't know why I did it that way, so sue me. It's a terrible shape. The reason it's so wonky is that this has an angle to it, and it wouldn't have made a good square. So this is kind of squarish. Again, I freehanded it instead of using a guide, so I mean, it should patch. I just don't have any circular hole cutters for this big for my for a hole saw that I could just cut out a nice simple circle and weld it in. So I have to cut it out with my bandsaw, which is why I kind of did this stupid thing. So we'll see how it works out. Alright, so basically I just use this as my template and draw around it. So this one I will cut square and make an easier patch. The other one didn't work out like that. Wonky shape and all. Change. It's drying up. Oh, it's dried up. Alright, that's better. You can spray carb cleaner on these and undry them. So now I'm thinking I'm going to do it. Let's see, what do I want to do here? Alright, well that's the shape I'm going to approximate this time. I can't draw an arc. Oh, it's light. Oh, a real light issue here. I can't see. here's what I came up with. Just have to make a 10 gauge patch. I'm going to grind this out and bevel it with an angle grinder. Same with this one. I'll just make a 10 gauge patch for these, weld them in so it'll be flat all across, like there's no hole ever, like there's never been a hole. And then I'm going to try to rearrange the front clip, the core support, to see where I could drill the new holes. And I do have a drill bit big enough to do the 1.5 inch hole that needs to be made in these mounts. So the next step is to hack out some patches. Alright, I'm going to make patches out of just regular masking tape. And I just stack it up thick. Shoot. Let's take some sharp blade. Alright, so theoretically that should be the patch that fits this hole. Alright, so if I cut this out of steel right up to the edges, it should just fit right in here. Looks like we got a little error. It's unfortunate. Yeah. Looks like I didn't account for this little dip right here. But you know what? I think it's close enough. And I'm going to take I'll just grind the edges of this one after I cut it out of steel. I'll just grind it down to fit custom into this slot, and then I'll bevel the edges all around the outside of the patch and then tack it in and weld it out of 10 gauge. Alright, so we'll go ahead and make this one now. I'm going to just clean up the edge of the hole. This time I'm not going to bevel the hole at this point. I should have waited on the other one to bevel it at the end after the patch was made, because obviously you can't cut an accurate pattern with a beveled edge. So this time I'll do this a little different. Alright, I'll just lay out the tape. Alright. Alright. So, theoretically, I cut it out of steel, it probably will need some trimming along the outside edges, or I can make sure I cut in on the line whenever I cut this out. we'll see how it goes. So I ordered this steel online at a company on the interwebs. I don't know if I should be giving out company names or anything in these videos, but if you ask, I'll tell you. So I'm trying to get this. I ordered 10 gauge specifically because that is the factory size of the frame on the Bronco, on the early Broncos. So a lot of people use 3/16, and a lot of people use 1/8. 1/8 is too thin, and 3/16 is too thick, quite frankly. So, I mean, 3/16 would be the better choice if you only were buying stuff off the shelf at the Home Depot. But I wanted it to be to match. I wanted the thickness of the patches to exactly match the thickness of the frame, because I also have to do that big old rust hole we found underneath the driver's side. So here's what it came packed in, and it's pretty heavy. Let's see. There we go. So now we just have to get them out of there without cutting myself. There we go. So this plate, so there's there. This is the thickness. It's about 1/8. It's a little thicker than 1/8. It's 0.140 is what the factory, or I guess the Ford original sheet metal is. So it's pretty significant stuff. Not exactly. It's not going to cut it with one of those sheet metal trimmers, but you know, you can't an 1/8 inch or either. So you just got to cut it with stuff like, I'm just going to use my saw here as best I can. So I'm just going to lay these out on here, and this is kind of the reason I did a square end, so I could just ignore it on part of it. Obviously this is going to be, this line is in absolutely the wrong place. So what I got to do with this fat line is I'll cut inside it. I'll try to follow the inside of the line to get as close to the actual edge as I can, since this marker is so thick. And then I just do the same for this side. Now, the craziness about the uneven edge, I think the reality is I'm going to wind up cutting it's going to be not a pretty cut, I'll just tell you that. I think what we're going to have to depend on is there'll be about a 1/16 inch thicker gap. I try to stay under an 1/8, so I try to stay around a little over 1/16, so 3/32 gap between the patch and the edge of the sheet, the member I'm trying to patch. So at any rate, this is where I'll make the cuts, and this will get me close enough to start really zeroing in on it. But first, I have to cut out. I usually cut out a chunk of this, and see how it goes. that's one of them. I think it's going to need to be trimmed back a little further on the grind. I'll just do it on the bench grinder. But I think that's generally the concept. Alright, well, here's our patch. So, I mean, it's not bad. There's a little chunk right here on this corner. I think I'll take that off and I'll grind all around the outside. I'll probably take a 1/16 off all around and bevel the edges of the patch. And then I'll knock this corner out here. So I think that'll fit real nice. And then we'll weld it in flat. Nice seam weld around the outside edge and grind it down. And we'll be ready for a new hole. Alright, I have done this. Let's see. And I think it's going to fit in there real nice. And I'll just fill that with weld. And it'll give me good penetration all the way through this 10 gauge steel of this this member. And I'll patch the top of it like that. Now I got to do the other side. Unfortunately, I have to turn it over and go on this side, and I laid a piece of tape out here as a straight line to follow reference, because there's this very narrow throat on this this saw. That's the one downside of it. So I've got to try to get on this side of it and finish cutting this out, and then I'll flip it over and finish cutting out the pattern. Alright, now finish cutting this. Where's my push stick? I lost it. I swear. Can't hold on to anything. Yeah. Oh, geez, it's under here. Found it! There it is. We'll see how that fits now. Well, we'll just see. Let's see, is that the way I went in, or did it go this way? I think it went this way. But yeah, we're gonna have to take a little off all around the edges, all the way so it fits. So that'll take a minute. Oh, actually, I think it does go this way. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to do this all. Take this to the grinder, the bench grinder, and just clean it up, bevel the edge, and see how it fits again. All right, let's see how the other one fits. Now I trimmed a little with the grinder and beveled the edge, and I also beveled the edge of this, the body mount, and then so let's see how it fits. I think it's all right. Let's see. I think might need a little more trimming. I mean, I think no, it fits in there real good, actually. Let's see. It's hard to do with one hand. Actually, I think I need to take a little more off the top. Let's see where we are. I mean, it's close. I'll just probably trim up this edge a little bit. This edge, get that chunk off there. And but anyway, it's close enough to actually fit. So I think the next time we're going to go ahead and get it detailed. A little edge off here, a little off of here. I think it'll be golden. Got some porosity here I need to grind out and do over. That's better. For grinding, I like to use these new, well actually I haven't used them very much. I usually use an angle grinder with a grinding disc on it, like a 1/8" grinder disc, but I've recently started trying out these fiber discs, abrasive. I think it's going to work just as good, or maybe a little better than the other angle grinder disc I've used. that's not terrible. I think normally I would go ahead and weld both sides, but this really isn't really a structural member in this point, so I'm going to leave the underside ugly, I think, and just leave it for here so I can put the body mounts and have a nice open flat area to remount the body mounts. So it is. Alright, let's reorient the body over the mounts to see how it fits. Okay, so I have located the body over the existing good mounts. Thankfully on this, they were able to get 2 bolts out, the ones in the passenger on near the firewall. They were able to get those out without damaging the bushings underneath, so I can just thread bolts back into them and locate exactly where the body's supposed to sit on the frame, at least this point. And then in the back, the back 2 are visible from the rear very easily, so I can easily visually center those body mounts to those body holes to the frame. So then I think I can safely make the assumption that based on the fact that the core support is still straight and is generally in line with the rest of the body, that the body mounting points on the core support, these 2 brackets, are in line. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and draw the location of the holes directly onto the mounts that I just re-welded on both sides. So then we'll see where to drill the new holes. And I put some the bushings under each side to space the height of the front. So we should be generally in the right place to assume that the holes will be in the correct position. Alright, so I bought these long reach pens on Amazon just for this purpose. Alright, so that's the, let's see, maybe this is too bright. It's washing out my, there we go. So this is where the body lie, and that's where I drew the circle through it, and then I calculated the center of it. And then I did that on both sides. So that's kind of where it lies. So I mean, I'm pretty sure if I just drilled those it'd work fine. But then I got obsessive, and I found some architectural schematics online of the frame, of the early Bronco frames. Architectural drawing kind of indicated that we're measuring, it's the holes in the frame that matter. So of course there's a certain distance between the rails, etc., and the length, but the real importance is where the holes are in the frame to determine distances and offsets and positions of things. So what I kind of figured out from the architectural drawings is that this center of this hole to this center line should be about right on 6 inches. So that's what this line indicates. I just found, so I was trying to kind of see on both ears how far off of that center line data mark we are. So on this one, you can see I'm a little bit too far forward on my center point, and then on the other side, I was just a hair too far back. So I have to determine how obsessive I want to get. Do I trust the points that I dropped this body down to there, or do I try to match the architectural drawings? And I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to trust the distance between the holes, so I'm going to leave it here. But I'm going to go ahead and pound this one and drill that hole right on that 6-inch line mark. And this one I'm going to probably split the difference because it's so far off. So I'm going to go ahead and do like halfway between this hole and this line, just in case I had error in where I marked that. And hopefully that'll get me where I'm going. And the way I figured that centers is I found the center line of the center point of this this hole, and then I measured 6 inches up the frame, and then I put these plates here to kind of hold this center point. I mean, to hold the edge, and then I just laid a straight edge, a square across, and I did that on both sides. So we're right on that 6-inch mark, and like that. So that's what I'm working on here. I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes. I'm going to punch them, and then drill the whole 1.5-inch holes there, and call it done on these front mounts. Oh, another thing, you might be tempted to assume that these points, these two holes, are drilled in the same distance from the frame rail as the second set in the cab. But I've discovered that it's definitely that these points are definitely at least 1/4 inch further apart than the ones in the front. So I made this. I kind of 3D printed to get this this giant caliper measuring tool with an aluminum bar and some twist thumb screws. Anyway, I set this to the exact width of the front mounts, to the center of those holes, and then I measured against the inside, the second set of mounts, and what we came up with is that we're definitely narrow in the front. So the front mounting points are at least 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch narrower than the second set of body mounts. So if you're resetting these holes like I'm doing, don't assume that the second set of body mounts is linear with the front, or you're going to be re-drilling your holes. I decided to split the difference between the center point of the hole I marked and the line, the datum line. Oh, really? Damn, that did not last long. This was a eBay special, or a Amazon special, 34 millimeter, 1.5. Boy, it blew up. Well, back to the drawing board. Got to buy another one. Alright, I went out and bought a set of these Hercules hole saws from Harbor Freight. Well, they got okay reviews on their website. We'll see how they do here. So we're going to try this again. Oof. Oh, okay, well that's what happened to the last one. It does not like it. let's see. What's up with that? I kick it down. Break? No, it didn't break this time. Okay. Well, that seemed to work all right. Didn't lose any teeth. All right, well, this is the mount. So, I mean, the bushing, it fits very nicely in there. That's the upper. This would be the lower that would attach onto here. Then you'd have a big washer. The body would go here. This would go straight on down. Big washer on the bottom. And then a nut. And then it would all lock together. And theoretically, you would have a nice body mount there. So let me drill the other side. All right. A little bit of lube there. I think I'm going to drill a pilot hole in this one first. There we go. Alright, I went ahead and lowered the body back down, realigned it over the mounting points. Looks like we got pretty dead on there. Both sides seem to be really close. It's a smidge off, but what I'm realizing here, based on the size of the bolts and the center hole, is that we have a lot of wiggle room, really. So I mean, these don't have to be exactly on. You got a good, probably an 1/8 inch or 3/16 of wiggle room all around to play where you want your body mounted. So maybe I was being a little too OCD about it, but you know, I feel like I got it on well. I got it in a good place, and I did that by also aligning the body mount bolts in the cab. So I think, and then also in the rear where I could see them. So I think we got this one pretty well nailed. Now I'm going to move on to the rear body mounts. Alright, I have maxed out the camper jacks because it's only like a 1/2 inch from the beam in my shop. So this is it. This is as high as I can go. I had to go up this high so that I could clear the engine, the back of the engine, to get as far forward as possible. This is the maximum forward I can get until it hits the engine. So, good news is I've got a lot of clearance under there to play around. And so now, let's start working on these guys. All right. I'm going to try a little bit of cutting fluid on there. See if it'll help or hinder. There she goes. Oh, see? I buttered my blade all up. I guess I can straighten that out. Well, so here it went. Now the question is, Oh, so yeah, we're all rusted out here too. That kind of sucks. Yeah. Oh. It's like it had a member in there that was a little cage that was holding it in. I guess I could weld that back in. Or maybe it just sat there. Maybe that was just sitting there. It wasn't really... Oh, this is just the bottom of the bushing mount. Yeah, so we're going to eliminate this altogether. I guess I could clean it up and reuse it. I don't know. We'll see. Kind of funky. But first, I got to cut a patch. Replace this one too. But first, before that, I got to do the other side. All right. This thing is rough. There we go. Yeah, okay. You have to get this bolt broken, or else you can't get it out. Well, this one is actually a hole shape, but a circle. But I'm still going to cut it out. It's lost too much material around the edges. Yeah, so I guess I'm going to have to find center. We know where center is here. Center of the member, and now I have to just find the center from like the middle of this hole to the middle of this hole. So same deal as last time, and this one is beyond help. Fortunately, I can use this one to help find center because it's close enough to circular still that I know where the center is. It'd be easy to calculate the center of this one, so then I can use it to fix this one. Alright, so rather than bore you with the same routine I did on the front, I've got the patches ready and cut out for the back. Basically, the difference is these are square patches as opposed to round patches. The routine I used was find the center of this hole and then keeping track of the center of this hole based on a distance from here to here, which I measured off of this one from here to here. So that should give me both holes in right position. After these are welded in, I'll just trace these lines from across and then get the center point, and I'll have exactly the center of the hole, and then I'll have the second mount ready to go. Alright, here's the weld. I got a little porosity in it, probably from the rust on the other side, but I'll just grind that off and flatten it out like I did the other, and then I'll pop the any porous areas with more weld second time, and then I'll locate the hole centers and drill the holes. Well, alright, here we are. Got the rear mounts done. Test fitting the brackets, or the bushing, sorry. Got a nice hole drilled here. Got a hole drilled here. And now on to the middle bushing mounts. Alright. We've got the front mounts fixed. And we've got the back mounts fixed. Now the hard part. We need to get those mounts fixed, and then those and those towers back there. And the hard part is going to be getting in here in this tiny little area. It was hard enough to drill the holes and do all the work I needed to do with a plenty of clearance. But with the body in the way, that's going to be a real bear. So, let's see here. That one. I don't even want to think about it. I guess I better get on it. Well, that was a lot. Actually, this one was a real bear. This one was terrible. It was really hard. So I got it out. The good news is the steel's good enough still that I'm not going to have to patch these. So it's going to be reusable. Yay! And that one over there is even better. The nice thing about that one is they had the bolt out and it just literally popped right off after I started digging into it with the saw. Something I've learned about these, when you have the bushing on here and it's got a broken off bolt and the bolt sticks this far underneath the bottom bushing, then cut that bolt off first because it protrudes through a hole down in the box here. And even if you cut this off on the top, it won't come out because of that bolt sticking out. And it's hard to cut that bolt after you cut it off because it vibrates too much for the little reciprocating saws. So, cut off the bolt on the bottom first. And I found that it's best to cut through the rubber and cut the rubber off and away from the mount instead of just trying to power through it. And then once you have that done, it'll cut through the steel part really easy. So it's a 3-step process to get these bushings off, I'm afraid, if the bolt breaks off inside. But we got these two now. Now these. Now maybe since these bolts aren't broken off and they're so open right here, they might be fairly simple. Alright, so what I found out on these, so luckily 2 out of the 8 they got the bolts out. So I was able to thread in a bolt. What I discovered about these bushings, when you have good threads on the other side, is that all you have to do is thread in a 9/16, I think it is, and then pound on it from the top. It should separate the sides. There you go. So that old nasty bushing came out. Now I can't get some part with one hand. Anyway, you get the idea. You unthread the bolt, and the 2 parts fall out. Be nice if I could do that here. That's what we'll do. We'll go like this. There, pop that out. All right, let's talk bushings. This is an original bushing. Note that it has I think this used to be a threaded portion down here where a bolt would thread into this. Then this portion would go next. There's the original writing on it. And there's the original, there's part numbers on such on this. But it used to go here. And this would just go like this. And then this, with the bushing in the center, the steel sleeve, would go through the hole in the frame, and then it would lock together like this, and then a bolt would come down and squeeze these 2 together, never to be removed again. So the new bushings that I'm putting in, they're much simpler. It's basically just two rubber portions and then a center sleeve, and they kind of squeeze together the same way. But then there's washers on the top and the bottom. So there'd be a washer up here and then one on the bottom that squishes them together. And then the body sits here on top of this with a bolt and a washer through it. So that's fairly simple compared to the old ones. So I'm going to go ahead and put these bushings into the frame, and then we'll set the body down on them. Alright, I've got the new bushings installed. Back here and through here. Yeah, and then also these. And of course the rear. Alright, let's scooch this body over those mounts again. Okay. That's pretty close. Now down. 2 inches at a time. And it's pretty well situated above this mount, and trying to make sure we had a good run down to that mount. And then this last back mount. And we're right around there. Well, you probably can't see it, but we need light in the same place as the camera. So there's this one. And then there's this one. So it looks like I can put the washers on and the bolts and nuts and just go ahead and start lower the body the final amount and tighten it down. This will be the first time it's had all its mounts mounted since I've had it, so I'm kind of excited about that. Let's get to it. Alright, ran into a little snag. So these caged ones, there's not a lot of room to play in there. And we got to get a nut and a big washer on the bottom side of that bottom bushing, and then run a bolt through it from the top. So what I did, rather than fumbling with a separate washer and bushing, or a washer and nut, I just tack welded the nut to the washer. So I'd have one less thing to fiddle with from below. And it seemed to work okay from that other side, so I'm going to run it on this side too. Okay, even with the nut welded to the lower washer, it was still a bear. The only way I could do this that was easiest was to put, like this is a 1/2-inch bar, and put it up, tuck it up under the nut, and hold the nut up against the bottom of the, I can't get it, yeah, hold it up, and hold the washer up against the bushing, and then drop the screw down from above. This will be a lot easier with help, but obviously I work alone a lot, so I had to come up with something. But this 1/2-inch bar stock helped me out by just putting it on top of the frame rail. All right, we've got all the mounts mounted. Got them all back where they belong. Yeah, see, we got that mount and that mount and 6 other mounts. And we reinforced the frame members, repaired the rust. And now we have all the bolts in, all 8. These in the front floor are they're gonna come in and out as I tear up the front floors for repair. But generally, it's all new rubber bushings in the back and the front and the middle. Going down, got them all figured out. Yeah, all right. So there's that one up there, and we got these back here on that, and of course the front ones. Man, that was a lot of work. We're done with the body mounts finally, and the bushing, replacing all the bushings. The whole point of doing this was so that I can use the frame as a body cart for fixing the actual body. So now, all this up to this point with the camper jacks and all the other mumbo jumbo and taking out things and the removing the steering box and the transmission, that was all just in preparation of actually repairing the body. So I guess that's what you get for being a one-man band. You got to do a lot of things to get prepared to be able to do something solo. So this is no different, obviously. It's a larger project, but now that we've replaced all the bushings and repaired all the frame, the body mount positions, now we can actually start working on the body. So we're going to continue that on in later series. I'm going to have to determine first what I want to do next, which body part to fix first, because they're all attached and that one might have effect on the others, obviously. So join me for that whole thing, and if you like what you've been watching and you want to get notified of further project improvements, go ahead and subscribe. And if you got anything out of this video, go ahead and hit the like button. That would help a lot. So I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for joining me.